Okay, so I've got a pretty easy job, hopefully, to do today, and that is fit this towel rail to the bathroom wall. Got the fixings here. I won't need these, they're for masonry. I've got plasterboard wall, got some screws here, and an Allen key. So let's go and get this done. Should be straightforward, but as we often find, little jobs are not always, or not usually, straightforward. So we'll see if this is an exception. Now I have the towel rail holder here, and it comes with this insert, this bracket that sits inside. So we'll just explain how this works. That gets fastened on the wall. This bracket gets fastened on the wall with a screw in the top and the bottom. It has a little indentation that faces downwards. This towel rail holder has a grub screw, and that faces down the bottom. And once you've fastened this onto the wall, you slide this over it, onto it, and then if we just turn this around, you'll see what happens. The Allen key goes into the screw and tightens that on, so normally that'll be in that position, and you'll be doing it from underneath. Tighten it on, and then that's firmly fixed this outer housing onto the bracket that's fastened to the wall. And then all that remains to be done is to measure from inside this hole to the inside of the other hole on the other end at the other bracket. Cut the rods to size and slide them in before fastening one of them to the wall. Okay, so now I need to locate the timber in the wall that I can fasten the towel rail brackets onto. Now this is not a normal stud wall where you have timbers running vertical. Instead, this is a cavity sliding door that's set into this wall. So we have a cavity sliding framework in this wall, which means the timbers that I can fasten onto run horizontally and about that distance apart. So I'm going to locate where they are by shining a torch into the inside of the cavity. And there's one there, and the next one is way down low. So that's too low, obviously, for a towel. And that's a little bit too high, so we'll run with this one, which is just here. So make a mark at the top where the timber goes and the bottom of the timber. I'll transfer those marks round to the front. So now I need to transfer these marks of where the timber is to the front of the plasterboard. Put my level on here, line it up with the mark, wait till it's level. There we go. And just put a very light mark. You don't want to put a dark mark, hard mark on there, because you've got to, some of this pencil line might be seen. So you want to easily remove it. So that's level. We've got the mark at either end for where the brackets are to go. So I'm going to transfer the top mark of where the top of the timber is onto the wall now.
Phillips out back with a hammer in hand, something grand. Dust on his boots, plans in his head, tools all around and a vision ahead. Okay, now I need to fasten this bracket on and the other bracket on there with the indentation pointing to the floor, so that when I attach the outer shell, then the grub screw that goes up underneath will firmly fix it onto the bracket on the wall. Right, I know which way to put the bracket this way, but I need to know how far in. So I'm going to make a mark on the wall, 30 mil in, simply because I think 30 mil is a good distance. 30 mil, I'll check that, 30 mil here. And 30 mil there. mark where the bracket goes, and I think we'll go 5mm down from the top. I actually might just put a mark to indicate 5mm so that's the same. $5mm. There we go. Actually, that needs to come out here. Right. Now to mark where the screw holes are. Line that top with the 5mm mark. Line this with the mark 30mm out. Make sure it's perpendicular. This one's the same. Good one.
Now you'll notice these screws here are the ones that came with the tail rail, but I'm going to use a shorter screw. These are about 35mm long, this one's about 30mm long. The reason being is because the timber in behind the wall is not very thick, and it will cause these, if I use these ones, they would protrude through the timber into the cavity slider, which means when the door is slid shut, it could scratch. They could protrude through the timber and scratch the face of the door. So I'm going to use the shorter ones. So I'll drill these holes for this bracket. And now we'll screw the brackets in place. So important now that I place this bracket in the correct position according to the marks. It's nice and firm. Now to do the same, making sure that the indentation is underneath.
Lisa's inside where the screens are aglow, cutting the clips so the story flows. Coffee in hand, headphones on tight, making magic on the timeline late at night. Oh, we fix it and film it.
Again, position it correctly before tightening.
Building dreams from the ground.
It's looking good.
Making sawdust while Lisa does the sound. From the workshop to the edit suite, we're making something really sweet. Yeah, we fix it and film it.
There we are, they're both on nicely. Now that what we need to do is to clean the pencil marks off the wall. And because I didn't push too hard, it'll be easy to clean them off, we hope.
Yeah, we fix it and film it. So come along and see this little YouTube world of ours where we make reality.
Now to fasten on this outer bracket using the Allen key. We've got the screw underneath there, wind that in and that'll lock it into this little indentation. And just make sure I've got that upright. It should center once I start to screw the screw in. There we go. Now we need to put the other bracket on just temporarily, and then we'll measure between the two to see how long to cut the rod, the rail. Okay, so we'll make, what I'll do I think is make a mark. I'll put this in that end and then make a mark on the outer edge in line with this, and then I'll measure how far in it goes.
Okay, that's the lower one. Now I just need to measure how much extra I need to have on the rod so it protrudes into the housing there. So I'm simply using an Allen key here, you can use anything, and my thumb on the end where it protrudes, and that's how much we need to mark on the rod. So here's the rod, and that's the mark there. So I need to add on that amount, so I'm going to do that now. Now to cut this to length, I'm using a cut-off saw, which makes it easy. If you don't have a cut-off saw, you can use a hacksaw. Just line it up with a mark. Now you'll see I'm using the packaging that this came in so that it protects the rod so that it doesn't get scratched. The black is only a coating of paint. So once you have finished cutting off the excess, it'll leave a burr around the end, and so you want to file that off so it'll fit into the hole in the bracket properly. So you want a firm surface to hold the rod on, and using packaging to keep it safe from being scratched. You can use a file or you can use a grinder. I'm going to opt for a grinder, it's a lot easier. What you've got to watch when you use a grinder is that you don't overdo it. You can take off a lot quickly, so you've got to be careful you don't overdo it.
Feels measuring twice to cut once clean. Working out a way to build their dream. Patching, painting, leveling floors. Always one job away from starting 10 more.
Lisa's trimming clips like a movie pro. Adding the beats to the hammer blows. Thumbnails popping, the title's tied. Gonna post that upload later tonight. Oh, we fix it and film it, building dreams from the ground. Phillips making sawdust while Lisa cuts the sound. From the workshop to the edit suite, we're making something real and sweet. Yeah, we fix it and film it, so come along and see.
Now it's time to assemble this. So the first thing I've got to do is take this bracket off the wall. We'll sit that there. And then we'll fasten this one in first. Lock it in position with the... I think that one just sits there, actually locked into position at this end. And this is the lower one. And this one is locked in, so I'll just tighten the Allen screw for this. It's better. And then we've got to put this one in. And then slide these on. And there we have it. It's firmly in there. Now just to tighten the Allen screw up. Nice and tight. What you don't want happening is the screw to loosen over time and start wobbling around.